In this video, we're going to kind of show how to use the Torah codes responsibly and properly for Torah study or as an extra layer of confirmation. Um, if the sages have an opinion, you can, or if you've noticed connections, you can use them as an extra layer of confirmation um, to see if it adds up. And it actually confirms the existence of codes in the Torah. The Torah codes kind of confirm themselves via results like what I'm going to show you here. So I just chose basically the two most popular words on the channel here. The Nephilim, so Nephilim here, and Cainites, because of course the Nephilim are the Cainite people that were alive before the flood, and that line carried on through various families, but also through various reincarnations, and I've got like hundreds of videos on this topic. So, my theory is the Cainites are the Nephilim, and I've been able to show this via uh, multiple facts, sources, patterns, gematria, all kinds of things. Now let's add this layer. Now, if we have these two words which are supposedly related, I'm only going to use results that are adjoined in some way. So you can have it where they're actually sharing a letter. You can have it so they're a certain distance away. Or you can have it where they're adjoined at a word or right next to each other. And then I'm going to make sure that they're spelled in the proper way, in the proper direction, not backwards. And matrix widths, anything from 6, and I'm capping it off at 120. 120 because it's the value of B'nai Noah. So we're talking here about non-Jews. This is going to be the theme. These will be non-Jews, Cainites, who, in the Torah itself, who were friends of Israel, and those who were the enemies of Israel. And this is always going on in the background of the Torah. It's essentially what it's about. Israel's interaction with these Jews that are pro-Israel and anti-Israel. And the Cainites went on to be some of the most honored and respected converts, if you will, gerim, friends of Israel, converts to monotheism and or Judaism, whereas the Nephilim are the fallen ones who went the other way and were not repentant, never repented, and never returned to God. So, let's see where we can find them together. I've already done the search, and these are the exact standards that I used. I just didn't want to run it again because it might take a while, but here are the results, and actually there are very few. It only shows up one place in the entire Hebrew Bible where these two are crossed together or adjoined in some way. And all the results are from Nehemiah or Nehemiah 5:17. Then you can actually click on it and see exactly where in the text the codes are. And so it goes from Nehemiah 5:17 down to Nehemiah 6:1. Now you have to remember there didn't used to be verses and all this in the Torah, in the Hebrew Bible. This was a later invention. Okay, so let's check these results out again. I'll show you some nice ones, and you'll see that they're all from Nehemiah 5:17. Like here is one of the best ones right here. And you can see they're actually sharing a word here, which has the word like heard or to hear in it, which is connected to Jethro. Jethro being the main Cainite, which is here Cainites, and here you have the Nephilim, and again adjoined by this word. So 5:17 to 6:1. Here's where it ends. Very interesting. Okay, so now let's check Nehemiah 5, and I remembered this because there are many little Cainite and Jethro clues throughout. Jethro being the Cainite, he is the father-in-law of Moses. And the Cainites are the Nephilim, who unfortunately went the other way. And here we are in Nehemiah 5, verse 8. And you can see here already Caini, as in Cainite, which is one of Jethro's 7 names. And he said to them, "We have done our best to buy back our Jewish brothers who have been sold to the nations, the goyim," as you see it right here. The nations, we're talking non-Jews here. Perfect so far. "Will you now sell our brothers so that they must be sold back to us?" They kept silent, for they had found nothing to answer. Now check this out. So I continued, What you are doing is not right. You ought to act in a God-fearing way, so as not to give our enemies, the nations, room to reproach us. What you are doing is not good, or is not right. And when you look at the Hebrew, you can see here, it's exactly the same as something that Jethro said. Famously in Exodus 18, his portion, it says here, Moses is saying this, "When they have a dispute, it comes before me, and I decide between one person and another, and I make known the laws and the teachings of God. But Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, the Cainite, said to them, 'The thing that you are doing is not right.'" It's the exact same in the Hebrew, right here. So Nehemiah and Jethro are connected by this famous phrase. And then it continues. We're going now down to 5:16. So our Torah code would actually begin one verse down, but I just wanted to show one more thing. "I also supported the work on this wall. We did not buy any land, and all my servants were gathered there at the work." And again, Caini, another hint of Jethro and Cainite here. Okay, so let's go down one verse. And I'll just show the Hebrew here as well. "Although there were at my table between Jews and prefects 150 men in all, beside those who came to us from the surrounding nations." Again, the non-Jews, Hagoyim. And it says here 150 men were eating at my table, in addition to the proselytes, the converts, or these gerim, these converts to monotheism or to Judaism. Ha-gerim, as you see here, in addition to the proselytes who came to us from the Gentiles, for they too were eating at my table. So far you can see here these gerim, and then we have the enemies of the Jews. And it's so interesting to me as well. We said all these hints of Caini, 150 men. 150 is Ken, as in Kenite, as in Bilam's prophecy to the Cainite in Numbers 24, where he connects this word Ken to Kenite and Cainite, as in Jethro the Cainite. So you can see here a lot of clues for the Nephilim, who are represented by the enemies of Israel and the Jewish people and all God-fearing people. And then we have these gerim, who are the Cainites, and there's a hint of them right here. Now check this out as well. I've shown this in other videos that Jethro, who is the Cainite, has the value 616 in gematria. HaTorah, the Torah, where the Torah in which it was, the portion in which the Torah was given, is named Yitro, is called Yitro, and HaTorah has the value 616 as well. So Yitro has the value 616, and in it we get the Torah, which has the value 616 as well. But then we said we're talking here about gerim, right? Ha-gerim, who are these God-fearing people. Okay, ha-gerim has the value 258, and you can find that value 616 times in the entire Hebrew Bible. So you can find this value 616 times, and we know that the gerim and Yitro are linked. And they just happen to be linked by gematria and statistics as well. Okay, back to Nehemiah 5 now. One verse down. And although what was prepared for each day came to 1 ox, 6 select sheep, and fowl, all prepared for me, and so on, we can see here another hint of Jethro and gerim. Here is the word for this, the fowl or birds. You can see here, it's also the third friend of Job, bird, fowl. Interestingly, it's also the root of Ziphrah or Zipporah, the wife of Moses and the daughter of who? Jethro, the Cainite. She's also a Cainite woman or a ger. She did a 180 and turned to monotheism. And then, in the exact same verse, you can see here this word for seek or require or desire, where it says here, yet I did not need or I did not resort to the governor's food allowance. It has another hint of noahide activity here and ger activity. When you take this word and then you can see here it has the word for bow in it, or rainbow. Why is that significant? What does the rainbow represent? Let's go back to Genesis 9 and Noah. And it said, God further said, this is the sign I set for the covenant between me and you and every living creature with you for all ages to come. I have set my bow in the clouds, and I shall serve it, and it shall serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. This is the Noahide laws, or the Noahide covenant, the covenant made with Noah, the very first covenant, one which was reiterated at Sinai and still stands to this day. So my bow, or which is only found or first found with Noah, referring to God's bow, is found here, and it's the sign of Noahides, or God-fearers, God-fearing non-Jews. Okay, we said it ended at Nehemiah 6:1. So, O God, remember to my credit all that I have done for this people. And let's check out the very last verse. Okay, when the word reached Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies. Okay, we're talking about the enemies, but you can see here another link to the Cainite, Jethro. Do you notice this word right here? It is yeter, which is the root of Yitro, and it is one of Jethro's 7 names. It says, and Yitro heard, he was called by 7 names. Yeter was his name while he was yet an idolater. Yeter, his father-in-law, Moses' father-in-law. And it says here, the reason why Yitro was also named Yeter, in addition, is that on account of this man, a whole portion had been added to the Torah in his honor. So what are the odds that this code for Cainites and Nephilim, which this exact little exchange is about, is found only here and nowhere else?